Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the Budget Subcommittee D, DPW. And so we are planning to go through each of the department budgets in what I will call reverse order from the budget book, because I thought we would get the smaller departments out of the way and invite them, if they choose to stay for the rest of the review, but otherwise feel free to leave when we're done. So this meeting is being held both in person at Town Hall and remotely via Zoom. And I need to look up the Zoom information. So you can join the meeting via a link at pactv.zoom.us. The meeting ID is 999-4994-2201. The passcode is 627418, or by phone via 1-929-205-6099. And with that, we'll do the roll call. So starting with Mr. Malaguti, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Trudell?
Present.
And Joe Lally is here as well. I know that Mr. Bizzarro had a last-minute conflict that he could not change, so he will not be attending. So with that, we'll jump right into the agenda. And first up is Parks and Forestry. And Nick Fiala, Parks and Forestry Superintendent, is going to talk about the proposed budget.
Good morning, Nick Fiala, Parks and Forestry Superintendent. Thank you all for your time. So we are not doing the training green, so that's not a priority anymore. That'll be for a future ask. So the two asks I have are priority one, which is replacing tennis courts at Elmer Raymond Park and Briggs Field. The total cost ask is $801,060. So this is full construction replacement of the tennis courts at, again, Elmer Raymond and Briggs Field. They would be replaced with a post-tension concrete setting, which has a guarantee of over 25 years without cracks. This would also include your black vinyl fencing, and it would be striped. Both courts would be striped for tennis and pickleball. The courts that are currently existing are in terrible condition. I did attach pictures in the packets, but if you look through those pictures, you'll see very large cracks that cannot be repaired. And I've had it looked at by two different tennis court companies, and yeah, both of them say they're beyond repair. So. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing capital. Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah. PAC TV, if you could help me out. Oh, okay. Oops. All right. Only done this 6 times. So for the budget, it's level funded. There really isn't much change. The only changes you'll see are with the contract increase through COBRA and the other unions, and then the small contract increase for Forges Field maintenance contract. We're not asking for any departmental equipment, or we don't really have any other major changes.
Anyone have any questions before I ask mine?
Not at this moment.
Go ahead.
I noticed in your general fund you have salaries and wages, and you have 4 tree maintenance workers as vacant. Is there an intent to fill those positions?
So it's actually, it is 4 open positions, 2 Parks and Forestry, 2 in Forestry. I'm sorry, 2 Parks, 2 Forestry. We actually filled one of those positions today. We had a new employee start. We're working together with as a whole in the DPW to come up with different innovative ways to start filling these positions. So absolutely, the goal is to fill those positions and be at max capacity.
Thank you.
Sure.
Could you speak to the implications of the reduction from the department request of 1.337 to the select board proposed of 1.304? What impact, what was that? What got cut in the process? Is it positions?
I think it was salaries, positions. I think it was, I could be wrong, but I think it was like they took 15% off of any of the open positions. Is that right? Yeah,
Okay.
vacancies, so, yeah.
So are you anticipating any significant impact as a result of that, or?
There's potential that there would be a significant impact, but with 3 open positions right now, and then, you know, I think if those do become filled throughout the year, I don't think the 15% will have that big of an impact, especially if we hire after July.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? All right. Would someone care to move the select board budget for Parks and Forestry?
So moved.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Passes unanimously. What? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is cemetery. And Ms. Diane McGuire,
Yes, good-
Superintendent.
Good
Welcome.
morning, Diane McGuire, Cemetery and Crematory Superintendent. So our budget, the salaries have evened out a bit. I was appointed permanently last January. We still have my old position, the administrative assistant position, vacant. So I will be talking with Bill about when will be the best time to try to start, think about filling that. As far as anything out of the ordinary for the cemetery, we are asking for a new Skag lawnmower to replace one that's over 10 years old that's currently failing. That's our only departmental
Okay,
request.
Is that in the operations budget, or is that in the capital request? Okay, thank you.
That's an operational. So I don't see anything else that stands out to me on the cemetery budget, just general step raises and such. We've been okay with the budget that we've had to maintain, so I don't see any other issues. We have a decent-sized staff now in the cemetery as well.
All right, and the reduction in the personnel line is again not filling vacancies?
Do
Or is
we
that- no,
have
that was
any, we
because of
do
the
have one
grade.
vacant position we have my old position, which works for both the crematory and the cemetery, and we have one labor position that we have not filled.
Okay, great. Mr. Malaguti, any questions? No. All right. Any further discussion?
Okay,
Mr. Trudell?
all right, so
Care to
moving on.
move?
I move to approve the cemetery budget. Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, 3 yes, 0, 0.
Thank you.
All right, on to the crematory.
The crematory budget is, there's really a very small change in the equipment retort inspections. We have 3 machines, and the company that we use to inspect the machines each year has gone up slightly in price. So that's what you will see, that 45.2% increase. That was what they charged us this year, and that will be what they will charge us next year. So that was our only change in the crematory budget.
All right. And again, the decrease in the personnel line is in part driven by a new
Yeah, that,
superintendent hired a lower grade, right?
yeah, that also has to do with me moving into a lower position than lower step than the former, superintendents, and also, again, the administrative assistant position will be filled eventually.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Ms. McGuire? All right. Mr. Trudell, would you care to move this? Crematory budget.
I move that we approve the crematory budget.
Mr. Malaguti?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 300.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to solid waste.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, solid waste, I'll just point out probably some of the noteworthy items here. The main one is in the overtime line item. What we're trying to do in the past, it's not that we're increasing overtime. In the past, the budget reflected overtime that was actually the overtime was being funded through the highway budget. So we were transferring funds from the highway budget into solid waste. So we're just trying to better align the budget where the funds are really going to. So we've adjusted the overtime budget to be in line with what is more reasonable. If you look at the 2024 actual, where it was basically almost 110,000. So that shows an increase of 69%, but it's really not an increase overall from the town budget as a whole, or DPW. Also, the other item worth discussing is the tipping fee. This upcoming year, there'll be another increase, contractual increase in the tipping fee. And then next year, I believe, is our last year with the contract, so we'll have to start looking to renegotiate the tipping fee for disposal of the solid waste as well. So for solid waste, I think that's the main items. One other thing I could indicate is point out is that we've had increased the landfill well monitoring. That's just based on increased costs relative to the consultant fees, adjusting for that as well. So beyond that, we're trying to stay level funded. We have some contractual increases for salaries, but nothing beyond that.
All right, any questions for Mr. Coyle? Go ahead, Everett. Mr. Hagerty.
Yes. Just a quick question for my knowledge. The recycling, the trash and recycling for both the town and school buildings, is it basically roughly the same that's collected at the transfer station, or is there certain things that are like it, just cardboard, paper, and trash at the schools, or is it something else?
No, I think that would be it. Is there
Okay.
any change? Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
All right. Hearing none. I'll turn to my left again. Mr. Trudell, would you care to move this budget?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All right, time for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Coyle.
Thank you.
On to fleet maintenance. Is that you again?
I will cover fleet as well, yes, so
You're on a roll.
on a roll here, thank you. A couple of things worth pointing out in fleet is we currently still have, I believe there are 2 mechanic positions that are still vacant. And so you'll see that there is a vacancy factor of $20,000, so 15% of our overall budget is being reduced to reflect that vacancy factor. And I think part of that is because the reality of hiring 2 full-time mechanics as of July 1st are probably not likely. So even if we were fortunate enough to get 1 additional mechanic on board, and we were able to get another mechanic on board next year, it would be likely occur into the season. So we don't feel as though that is going to affect us, because we've had difficulty getting mechanics, and we'll continue trying, but I think I don't see that as being an issue. Beyond that, we actually show a reduction. Overall budget is a 1% reduction in the budget.
Well, this is one of those operations where if everything goes well, nobody knows that you're there, but the minute it goes wrong, they know your name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been challenging in fleet, just because of the vacancies, but right now we're doing pretty good. Even though we'd like to have the other 2 mechanic positions filled, we do have someone that was serving temporarily from the water department to help with some of the absences that we've had. So we're getting by. It's not it also requires additional overtime as well to keep up with the repairs, especially during the winter season.
All right, any questions?
I just have two quick ones. The first one is with the purchase of the electric vehicles recently by the town, have you seen the budget for that, or actually the repairs and maintenance for those, help the department control costs of it, or is it sort of a learning curve and there's some expenses that are hidden?
I would say because the vehicles are newer, we've had limited maintenance that's been required on those electric vehicles. But also, I believe we had one new car that I think had less than 3,000 miles on it that did have some issues. And we had to send it out because our mechanics currently aren't trained on the electric vehicles. So it will take some time for us to get to a point where they can have the additional training to service them. So right now, any of the electric vehicles that we have, if there's a problem with them, that's, beyond a brake job, obviously they can do brake jobs and different things, but it's relative to it being operated, battery operated, we would send that out. But we've only had one vehicle so far that we've had to do that. So we haven't really seen any change in terms of maintenance costs at this point, because anytime you have a new vehicle, you're likely not to do a lot of maintenance on it in the first couple of years.
Okay, thank you. And the
Right.
other quick question is for the vehicles that are maintained by the departments, is it everything except for fire in schools, or are they also, or are some of those included as well?
No, you're correct. We maintain DPW and police vehicles. We do not maintain the fire vehicle or school vehicles. I will also point out one additional interesting fact as well regarding electric vehicles. There was some talk about, there still is, requiring the municipalities to purchase electric trucks as well, so even the large dump trucks. And recently, last year, the town meeting, the town approved 3 6-wheel dump trucks and 2 10-wheel dump trucks to be purchased, which was a good thing, because at the time, when we purchased them, I had to get a waiver from Department of Environmental Protection to allow us to purchase diesel vehicles, because they was going to start requiring purchase of electric vehicles. Now, those electric trucks cost, instead of purchasing it at $300,000, was going to be $900,000. So I think, fortunately for us, we're going to be able to purchase the diesel vehicles, and I still don't know if they've looked at, if you're out in a snowstorm, how you would actually charge a truck that large. We don't have the ability to charge something that large, so I think there's still a lot more work going forward on how we would actually be able to achieve that. But I just wanted to point out that if that does happen in the future, that's a significant cost increase to go from 300 to 900 for those vehicles, so we'd have to keep that in mind if that changes.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, you do not maintain fire, do you maintain the school vehicles?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions?
Actually, no, he answered my question about vehicle replacement
Okay,
very handily.
wonderful. Any further questions? Mr. Malaguti, would you care to make a motion to approve?
So
this
moved.
budget? All right, Joe?
Second,
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 300. Thank you.
Okay, we'll give snow and ice next.
And on to snow and ice.
Snow and ice.
How appropriate.
So snow and ice, fortunately for us so far, up until this weekend, it's been a fairly quiet winter. And first, I would obviously like to thank our DPW staff, and I have Tony Lopes, our new highway manager here, who was in much of the weekend coordinating our snow and ice operations. So we did spend some time, which obviously is not reflected in the actual to-date expenditures. But as you're probably aware, I believe CFO Lynn Barrett adjusted the budget last year to reflect, I believe it was a three-year average or a 5-year average of what our typical expenditures were on the snow and ice. So it's level funded this year. It's at $1,366,415. So we did not adjust that, and obviously at this point, we're hopeful that we stay under that, but you never know this time of year when you get some snowstorms and be pretty significant cost. So that it is level funded to date.
Any questions for, yes, go ahead, Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, the line 520000, purchase of services, weather services needed for storm tracking. Do you offhand know what types of those programs you employ?
Yes, that's, we actually have an on-call meteorologist. It's called Precision Weather. And they are available 24/7. And I'll call them if there's ever a question about what we're getting for weather. They send us email notifications throughout the storm. They call us. So that purchase of services is, I believe, for that particular service they provide. And it's a great service to have, because at 2 in the morning, when you're not sure what's happening with the weather, you can call them and they answer the phone, and you're speaking directly to a meteorologist.
Thank you. That was more my question, because I was just a little looking at, I'm like, most of the weather services are basically free and all that. So that's why I wanted a little bit of clarification on that, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Okay. I don't think I do either. Oh, one question. What surpluses at the end of the year in snow and ice, do they carry forward into a reserve or?
I believe they go into, be free cash.
Free cash,
And
okay,
I believe it's free cash if there's any excess funding from snow and
Right.
ice.
great. All right. So Mr. Malaguti, would you care to move this?
So moved.
Mr. Trudell, would you care to second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. 300. Is Carl here yet?
But he's, Carl was gonna participate by Zoom, but I think
Okay,
he,
well, let's put
if you want,
building maintenance aside.
yeah, I think he's heading up here now, so.
Okay, well, we'll just put building maintenance aside and move on to administration.
Okay.
Let me just get there with the screen. See, it goes much faster if you go in reverse order, so. Okay, administration, go ahead, Mr. Call.
Okay, thank you. So there's some changes in here, and I'll try to explain them, that you see 200%, 100%, which those aren't really too significant, but I'll explain why. Salary and wages increase, this is a 3.9% increase relative to contractual obligations from this year's changes in the contracts with the unions. And then also, we have longevity pay. You'll see it went up 83%. And then you see buyback, sick leave buyback went up 230%. I think that is more based on longevity. Obviously, the longer people are here, they're triggering a different threshold where they're eligible for buyback. So these numbers are adjusted. I mean, they're not significant numbers, but the percentage or the variance is fairly significant. The biggest one that changed is the stipends. If you look down on the, towards the end of the DPW admin salary and wages column.
Yep.
So the stipends, we had requested 143,000, went to 114,000. I think the bulk of that delta is because of, we were calculating the stipends based on filling vacancies within highway, because those stipends come out of, I believe, out of this DPW admin budget. So because we have at least probably 7 or 8 vacancies, I think, plus minus, in highway right now. So that's, when you add up all the stipends, they get stipends if they have their Class A license, for Class B, if they have hydraulic licenses, all these different licenses, they get additional stipends. So we subtracted out those stipends, and I think that was based on some of the guidance from the CFO, from Lynn Barrett, just to try to keep the budget to reflect more accurately probably where we'll be at. So that was probably one of the major changes. So at the end of the budget, the overall increase that we show for DPW admin was 4.7%.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Coyle?
None at this time, thank you.
All right. All right, let's see, Mr. Trudell, would you care to move the DPW administration budget as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Malaguti?
Second?
All right, any discussion?
None.
All right. For the vote, all in favor,
Aye.
aye, 300. All right. I see, Mr.
Carl Anderson is here if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just
Touch
trying
on-
to get myself organized here. Building maintenance. Mr. Carl Anderson. Come on up. Good morning, Carl. Anderson is the facilities manager for DPW.
Good
And,
morning.
Please proceed with your presentation.
This is for the budget, FY '26. We had overall budget increase 4.2% requested in FY '26 for below factors. Salary increase, $47,000, 4.1%. Longevity increases were a cause of that, tool and other stipend increases, and contract wage increases. Prepared a level service budget, no increase to O&M. So same as FY '25. And there is a proposed fuel and utilities increase of $98,750, or 7.3% attributed to rising cost estimates. With regard to the select board goals for facilities, Division 422, we have a select board goal of completing the Memorial Hall feasibility study, and that has been addressed with ARPA funding. So no budgetary increase is associated with the achievement of that goal. No new initiatives or positions, no revenue increases, and Facilities Departments maintains 30 municipal properties and is responsible for responding to myriad problems and concerns throughout the town.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'll defer unless anyone else has questions first.
Why don't you go ahead and then I'll ask mine, if
Certainly.
you don't cover them.
Within the budget, especially looking at the electric, I'm seeing a lot of 100, 200% increases on some of these budgets, especially the North Plymouth Fire Station and the all other miscellaneous line, as well as the Cemetery Summer Street one, which is at 1,100% increase. And then a few on the heat as well, too. But if you could go over the electric first, please.
I'll have to look into the reason for that. It could be due to Eversource increasing their delivery service fees significantly.
Okay, and then on the heat, so looking at a couple of them, I don't know if it's because of newer equipment or not, but there's like a 122% increase, I believe it's for Pine Hills Fire Station, and then there's an 84% decrease of around $21,000 for heat for Memorial Hall, and then a 700% increase for heat for the Symes House.
I think those may have been adjusted for what we're actually paying currently. So at our current expenses for those buildings, for the heat in those buildings, so the numbers were adjusted to reflect that.
So it's more of an evening out of the budget, basically?
I
along
believe
the-
so, yes.
Okay. That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
You answered my questions. Very good. Any further questions for Mr. Anderson? All right, let's see. Did you move it the last one? Or did I? All right. Mr. Malaguti, would you care to move this budget as presented?
So moved.
All right. Mr. Trudeau? All right. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
300. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, we got administration done. I think it's the Mr. Coyle show again.
No, I know.
We are at highway.
Now we're on highway. Again, as I mentioned, Tony Lopes, our new highway manager, is with me today, too.
All right, welcome.
Relative to highway, we had a 3.5% increase in the line item for salaries and wages. The overall personal services budget was decreased by 0.1%, so essentially level funded. And I think largely in part to the, again, the vacancy factor, which was a total of $76,000, which is a little more than probably almost 1.5 positions for us. And then the other item that you'll see is further down is crushing services. That's something that we do every other year, so this would be the year that we won't have the $25,000 funded for the crushing services, so that's a 100% decrease. And the overall budget for highway is a decrease of 1.3%. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Go ahead.
For the repair and maintenance of streetlights, those are town-owned ones, correct, that are under that, or are those other as well, too?
Repair and maintenance of roads, is that?
No, R&M streetlights, the last one, it's 524303,
5.2.
36,180.
The answer is going to be yes, I'm just trying to find it on here, but yeah, that
It's
would
at
be.
the bottom of page 10 of the
Okay.
budget book.
But yes, that would be town streetlights.
Thank you. And then the other one, you know, hold on, if anyone else has questions, I'm trying to find my other one. Thank you.
Right,
Okay.
Mr. Trudell, do you have any questions? I don't.
Yes, my other question for the street sweeping, how many vehicles do we have for that? Is it 2 or is it 3?
For what, what's that
For
again?
street sweeping, is it 2 or 3 vehicles that we have?
We just purchased a new one, so we had, we actually had 3, an older Pelican. And has the new one come in yet, Tony? Not yet. So we have 3 currently. But we have one new one that's coming in and one that should probably be retired, but.
Okay, so basically an average of 3 is what we're planning. Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, hearing none. Let's see, I think it's your turn.
This is the,
Highway Department.
motion to approve the highway department's budget.
Second?
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, 300.
Thank you.
Thank you. Me? Oh, Mr. Trudell, okay. We'll do that next time around.
Okay.
Okay. And this could be last but not least. Mr. Downey from Engineering Division.
Good morning, everybody. James Downey, Assistant DPW Director, and I'm here to talk about engineering. So the operating budget for engineering did not change much. There is just an adjustment due to contractual increase to wages. Otherwise, it's level funded. I can answer any questions you may have.
One moment, please. Any questions?
No.
No.
All right, hearing none, Mr. Malaguti, would you care to move this budget as presented?
So moved?
Mr. Janelle?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, all right. 300.
Okay, thank you.
So, at this point, don't see any public on Zoom, I don't see any public present. So before we adjourn, I just want to take a moment to ask Mr. Coyle to make sure that we all appreciate the work that the people in your department do. He's often gone on the scene as a former pilot. One of our sayings used to be, no one ever remembers a good flight, and no one ever forgets a bad one, and you all have lots of good flights. So appreciate the work that you and your staff do, and have a good year. Thank you. All right. All right. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Oh, snow
One
and
of the
ice.
things is revolving funds for
Okay.
that too. Were we talking about that as well for Public Works, the cemetery repair and beautification and compost bins? Or
Is that in our budget? I may have skipped that, so.
it's in the planning section
Which section was it in?
of the Public Works.
Okay, revolving funds. Where's that, is that in this book? Did I miss it?
I just had a question. I don't know if it's in there if we're discussing a different.
I think the question is, on the purple page, divider, it mentions revolving funds, cemetery repair, beautification, and compost bins. Do we typically review that? I don't remember doing that.
We do typically touch on it.
Okay.
If
Where
you
would
have-
that
If you
be?
have questions,
Where would that be in the book?
it would be after each section. So the cemeteries would be after the cemetery budget.
Okay. Well, let's go look for that for a moment.
The committee will review them in depth when we do the revolving fund article.
Okay, if
But
we're,
they're-
if we're
but
gonna do
they're
it then I'll,
Included there because they belong to that department, so in
Right.
case,
Okay.
okay, so I'll refer anything to that one. I just had a question because I just saw it on the page, so I didn't know if there was that. Thank you, though.
okay. And I believe that this week, we're hearing Article 3, revolving funds, tomorrow night.
I don't remember.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Hearing no further discussion. Let's see, Mr. Malaguti, would you care to make a motion to adjourn Subcommittee D, DPW?
Motion to adjourn Subcommittee D.
Mr. Trudell?
Second.
All right, any discussion by any chance? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.